It says in Deuteronomy 22, suppose a man marries a woman, but after going into her dislikes her and makes up charges against her, slandering her by saying, I married this woman, but when I lay with her, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence of the young woman's virginity to the elders of the city at the gate. The father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. And now he's made up charges against her, saying, I did not find evidence of your daughter's virginity. But here is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. Then they will spread out the cloth before the elders of the town. The elders of the town shall take the man and punish him. Oh, damn it. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, guys. My connection's just dog shit tonight. The elders of the town shall then take the man and punish him. They will fine him 100 shekels of silver, which they shall give to the young woman's father, because he has slandered a virgin in Israel. She shall remain his wife, and he shall not be permitted to divorce her as long as he lives. So if he is lying, he pays a fine. Mm-hmm. Says, if, however, the charge is true, that evidence of the young woman's virginity was not found, then they shall bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town shall stone her till she is unalive, because she committed a disgraceful act in Israel by prostituting herself in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. So if she's lying, she gets stoned. Do you think that's fair?
Well, what do you think the objective of that story is? What are they trying to get across to the tribe?
They're trying to get across that virginity is the most valuable commodity a woman could ever have. And
why is that important?
And your whole worth as a woman is wrapped up in your virginity.
Why is that important to God?
It's not. I mean, it is in the book, but it shouldn't be, because it's silly.
Well, let's play this out. It's clearly important. It's from God here, right? So, like, why would that be important to God?
Because he's a perverted deity. Like, he cares what happening with women, but not men. You notice there's no rule about men not being a virgin.
The reason God wants women to be virgins and pure is because he has a way to perpetuate life with a husband under his dominioncy. It's a cleanliness issue. He's meant for one man and one woman to be together.
Oh, because once a woman is no longer a virgin, she's unclean. You hearing this, Sarah? He's just called you unclean. He's calling all the women in here unclean.
I'm unclean. I've slept with women before marriage.
Okay, should you be stoned?
No, because we live under a different system now.
Oh, it's funny how only the women get stoned and not the men. Because as it turns out, the man that slept with her is now unclean too.
Well, listen, here's the thing, right?
Here's the pivot. Yeah, I'd pivot too if I was you. This is a tough one.
No, there's no pivot here, man. Like, this is the thing, right? What we're talking about here is that the world has always clearly been evil.
Yep.
And it's always been a difficult place to live in.
Yep.
And so it's not that God is doing these things.
No, God,
the people are doing these things.
This is a directive from God. This is a directive from God.
Go ahead.
This is from God.
Sorry,
God said to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm not done finishing the answer.
Don't blame this on mankind. This is God's doing.
Mm-hmm. So mankind has always been screwed up.
Wrong. I'm asking about God. Why did God give this command?
I'm trying to tell you.
So are you aware that only half of women bleed their first time?
I prefer not to get into this. This is a pretty private conversation when we have a woman on the line.
Actually,
I'm happy to talk about it. Let's do it.
Yeah, women, put a 1 in the chat if you didn't bleed your first time. Look at all these ones about to come through.
The point being, Raymond, if this actually happened, if these laws were for actual people to actually live out, God commanded them to do a terrible thing, to stone women for not bleeding on a sheet after their first time. Unless you think the entire law of Moses is just a metaphor trying to foreshadow Jesus.
Where do you see that specific verse?
Which one?
Bleeding on a sheet.
Deuteronomy 22, we just read it. We can go over it again. It says the evidence is that in verse 17, But here is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. Then they will spread out the cloth before the elders of the town. And believe it or not, this practice is still practiced today in some countries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written about...
So leaving faith. So what is the message here? What is ultimately they trying to get across to the tribe about this?
Trying to find a deeper, more big picture meaning is only important if these things didn't actually happen to people. If the people who lived under this law didn't matter at all. But if you think that women actually physically lived under these laws, that a woman had to live in terror of her wedding night, lest she not bleed and then get stoned, the bigger lesson is not that important. Do you think women, actually real women, lived under this law?
So I believe that God is trying to help his people do the
it's
very
a yes
best
or no
that
question.
they can.
It's a yes or
You
no
just have
question.
to say yes or no.
Oh my God.
Yes or no.
To do the very...
I know you want to like go really bad into preach mode, but yes or no questions just need yes or no's.
I know it's easier, but you guys are asking some really good questions, and I want to give you good answers.
But start with the yes or no. Did real women actually physically live under that law?
Yes.
Okay. So regardless of the bigger picture, that means that God created a world in which he said, here are my laws. These laws are going to be terrible to women.
Mm-hmm.
So that's bad.
Yeah.
I agree.
So if you think God is trying to give a bigger picture, trying to tell us something greater about humanity, he could have done that without forcing generations of women to live under this horrific law.
So if you were God, how would you try to get a message across to your people using the times and the resources that they had at their disposal?
God is not limited by their resources. God, if he is all powerful, can communicate in any way that he wants using all of his power. So he's not limited by people's cultures. He's not limited by their ability to read and write. He could directly communicate instantaneously to everybody's heart if he wanted to.
Yep.
I agree.
So there you go. He did not have to make these barbaric laws.